Hi everyone, my name's Ailey. I am one half of Izat Arundell. My partner Jack is on Harris today, so he's not here. But yeah, this is I was sort of going for like a 15-minute plus vibe, so this is like hold on to your seats. It's going to be fast. Okay, right. I'm talking about the house that my husband and I built. This is me on the left. This is my husband, Jack. This is like entirely our setup. I'm inside working. Jack is outside somewhere doing something. And then he comes back in for food, so I get to see him then. And, sorry about... I was told about the size. Sorry. Okay, so we've got... anyone who doesn't know where we are, we're in the Western Isles, which is an archipelago off the northwest of Scotland. You can get there by flying, which is what I did today. So you can fly from Stornoway up here down to either Inverness, Edinburgh, where are we? Glasgow. Or you can get the ferry. You can either get the ferry from the top of Skye here, which is an hour and a half, or you can get the ferry from Ullapool, which is a 2-hour 40 crossing. And this is it here. So a little bit zoomed in on the Isle of Harris. And you can see this is my ferry here coming in. And into Tarbert, that's where the ferry comes in on Harris. And the island is split in two, so I'll show you a couple of photos in a second. But the west side is really sandy, and that's like the epic side. Everyone likes it on that side. But my side is a little bit different. It's very rocky, and that is where we have got a lot of the ideas from the house from. To give you a bit of context of scale, so you come in on the hour 30 ferry, but it would take about a long hour to drive round the island. And there's 2,000 people that live there all year round. This is the ferry. It's either like this or it's like this. And you get stick bags for free. And beers. No, well, beers aren't free, but they can be. So this is the sandy side. Everybody loves the sandy side. Oh, I was just saying, it's on your doorstep. Whenever anything's on your doorstep, you never do it. I go like once a month, but I should go more. And Harris is like going back in time. This is all still here. And sometimes the card machine works, sometimes it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then you can still fill up, but you just have to go later and pay, or not. And this is my side, so this is the rocky side, and I think it's often overlooked. It's really beautiful. It's ancient rock, and I think you can feel it when you're there. It's very known for lots of artists move there. The light is incredible. So, yeah, we're just getting to know the community, and it feels nice to be in the group. This is coming down into where I live. So this is Geocrab. You say it with a soft G. And, everyone gets it wrong, so Geocrab. And there's maybe 15 houses in this settlement, including a really nice cafe, which do a really good scone and brownie. And this is my house. You know, this is not everyone chooses this in the publications, and I don't know why it's overlooked, because I think it describes it really well. It shows you the context. It shows you the rock, which is a really prominent part of the building, and this little building in front, which I don't own, but I would like to. Maybe time, who knows? Okay, but we didn't start with that house design. So, do you know, we were really actually inspired. We were going to do a mini barbican. So, I was going to buy my husband Jack a jackhammer for Christmas, but best laid plans. So this was the design that we did come up with originally. And I was saying to someone recently, I actually think I'm better as like a second time around architect. And I wish clients would pay me to do that, but not always. So the design was, 2 masses. We were going to build them out of concrete, like a shell. I think there's so many crossovers with Artifact. It was so nice what you guys are saying. And then we were going to inhabit these shells, and we were going to, make them feel crofty, I suppose, croft-like. But a lot of the inspiration came from the rock, that you just saw in the image before, and the rock. This is a big rock on our site. And this was the first floor. So the first floor was just bedrooms separated by a little green roof in between. And you can see some of the themes coming through. You'll see the images later. I need to rattle through. Keep going. Okay, so we couldn't do that because I got the first cost back. This was for the foundations. And I was spending 11,000 on prelims. So there was like no way. And this was just for the foundations. So over Christmas, we went back to the drawing board. I told Jack that he was going to be building the house, and we designed the house that we thought we could build. And a lot of the design, the house had been publicised quite a lot recently, which is nice. And I think the success for the architectural side is this angle, which I am using in everything now. I think it's such a nice solution. It's so graceful. But it was all because I built this model, I went back to basics, and I built around this rock. And that's where this angle comes from. And this is an early plan. So this is what we did for planning, I think. We still had the covered area. It was going to be a guest bedroom. That's now a utility room. The bedroom was going to be more separate from the living area by having like a smaller door right at the end, a study, and then a sunken living room. Yeah, that didn't happen. You'll see why. And the inside of the model, sunken living room, maybe on another project. Not now. Yeah, you can begin to see there's like ties between the two ideas coming through, lots of timber. That's the big rock outside. Early renders. So, we're talking about the build, right? This was like day one on the build. Everyone's looking nice. This is my husband, Jack. This is my brother, Alistair. Alistair decided I convinced him to come and build it with us. So everyone's looking like super fresh here. It was nice. And we've never built before, like translating drawings into building. So we hired a digger and a dumper. And we thought we needed to do that. So we also had a concrete mixer, which didn't get used once. But step one was leveling the site. We got lots of hardcore, leveled the site. Sorry, I have to go fly through this. And after leveling the site, what do you do? So we got the foundation plan from the engineers. Right, okay, great. So we've got the strip footings, good. With strip footings are down onto strata, onto rock. So we had to dig out the rock. You'll see that in a second. This is a section later. The engineers didn't do a 140 on a 100 block. This is Jack's fault. Jack ordered a 100 mil block, not 140. So our house is actually built like that. So don't do that. And this is what it looks like. This is step one. God, we've got a really nice young surveyor. He came and plotted. We gave him the setting out points, and he did this. And we were looking at it, thinking, okay. Even as the house that we designed, and we still didn't know what it it was crazy. But we started spraying on the lines, and you can begin to see where the strips are going to go. So that was nice. That's my brother, Alistair. This is Jack. This is much of the build. This is the feeling on the build site. And this is Jack's dad, showing us how to use a digger. But, when you spray on the lines, when you start digging, they go. It's really difficult. So the house may or may not be in the right place. Or a bit bigger. I don't know. And when we were digging, we were hitting rock. This rock is really hard. There is no way. We rented the digger with this breaker. And the guy, when we returned it, he was like, oh, did you break out much of Harris? We were like, no. And the guy, there's a fish hatchery around the corner from our house, 2 seconds around. And they were like, you have to blast it out with dynamite. There's no way that this pecker is going to do anything. So I think the guys at the shop had fun with us. Yeah, so we've got foundations going in. So this is us digging down. You can see the lay of the land with the rock. This is exactly, it can be flat on one section and drop down 3 meters right beside it. So this was our foundations. We were at bedrock here. This is, you can see the section we were trying to break out, which is pointless. And then dropping down. And we translated that onto site because we were really tight about materials. Jack was giving me levels. This is so pointless, but this is what we did. And then I translated it into 3D, and then we calculated the areas for ordering off that. Any of these areas in light blue were the areas that's the bedrock coming up. So you can see, we just had to lift the house up rather than, where it was going to be, but that's fine. And strip foundations going in. So everything's looking nice and neat. We've got our rebar going in. It's becoming rational. We were understanding what was going on. The weather was getting better. Those are the blocks going in. Look, they're so skinny. I turned up to site and I was like, Jack, you've got 100 mil block. And he tried to say that you didn't get 140 in the shop, but I was like, well, you do, so. So we've got the 100 mil block, that's fine. The engineers gave us a new detail, and this was it. We were ready to go for the slab pour. It feels so nice. Look at that, it's so rational. Oh. And slab pour. So we've got DPM going down. Another big mistake. We ordered, you get sucked into the world of materials, and we were like, okay, great, rebar spacers, and they're little plastic spacers. We ordered hundreds of them. We were really careful with the spacing, and they just break. It's completely pointless. So everyone just uses blocks. But again, you only learn by doing. Another thing Harris doesn't have is concrete pump. So either you have a concrete pump, which makes it much easier to pump concrete, or you design a house that has hardcore all the way around so the machine can drive all the way around. Or you buy a rake, which is what we did. And this was the only, we tried to document the build as much as possible, and this was the only photo I took because these guys were telling me off like straight away. But anyone who's like raked concrete is heavy. And yeah, we got the slab in. So this was Jack and I, this was taken by my brother Alistair, we were trying to figure out the layout inside. We were still making changes. I think even when we were putting the walls up, we were making changes. And this was it, happy families. Look at that. So that we finished it in March 22, and Alistair had said, right, I'm going to come and work with you until you've done the foundations. And then I'm going to decide if I want to work with you two again. And he said yes. I did also convince him. So we bought caravans. Before we were renting out accommodation because we were there in winter. It's much cheaper. Lots of free accommodation on Harris in winter, but not in summer. So there was a competition to see who could buy the best caravan for £200. And my mum was so horrified with what we got that she bought us a steam cleaner to clean the inside. And we dragged them up to Harris, which is amazing. This is my brother's car. It's like, this suspension's completely broken, so that's why he looks like he's a lowrider. Yeah. And this was it. So we reconvened. So we finished the foundations in March. We reconvened in June 22, and it was a year later that we had the first photographs of the house taken for publicity. So a year, 3 months for the build in total. Oh, fly through. Okay, so timber arriving. This guy was sometimes drunk, sometimes wasn't. Dropped quite a lot of our materials. And kit flew up. Doing the kit is so nice. I don't understand why anybody buys kit frames like pre-done. It's the fastest part of the build, and it's really fun. And it means you can like select where windows are a lot easier and stuff like that. Oh, we had a color film there. We must have lucked out. So this is the build. Lots of bracing going on. There's still high winds like at any moment on Harris, so this is all weighing down bracing. This is our makeshift tool shed, shantytown tool shed. Choosing windows. So again, nice with being able to do it yourself. You can choose these moments. Steelwork going in. Fly. I've got so many. We had 3 steel beams going in, so we've got 1, 2, and then there's a third one going in over here. And they were taking the JGI rafters, which go in the other direction. And in between all of that, even doing all the steel work, you just think you kind of order steel, but actually you have to do full setting out for every hole that's drilled because you don't have extra people to do that on Harris. You don't have the tools. The nearest tool shops an hour 20 drive away, and even order these little extra steel plates that are all angled. Oh, yeah, but again, you learn as you go. We had help from family and friends. This was my dad telling everyone how to use stuff, and this is my family dog, Rue. Oh. And this is Dan. Oh, right. This is right. Getting into the stone section now. So Dan, I used to work with Dan's partner Jen at a place called WT Architecture, and so that's how I know Dan. Every single project when we were working in Edinburgh, I had a tiny bit of stone. I was like, Dan, come and work with us, please. And he was like, no, I've just had a baby. I'm just doing my house up. Now's not the time to go freelance to set up my stone masonry business. But we got this house, and I was like, Dan, come on then. And he's from the island, so that's why he's the best guy. And talking about material sourcing, so this was our site here, and Kenny's quarry is a 12-minute drive away up here. This is it at the top here. And this is what it looks like. Yeah. But we had started, so we'd asked Kenny to do 20-ton drops of rubble stone on the site. I thought I was kind of quidsing because Kenny said, I was bracing myself for a really high cost. And Kenny was like, oh, it's about £14 a ton. I was like, all right, let's go. But turns out, as you're saying, finding facing stone it's not 20 ton of rock that you can use. And so Dan would sift through it like this. We'd spread it all out. Dan would sift through it, and he'd be choosing 10, 20% of each load. And I was like, Dan, please, we've just got this mound building up outside the house. There's so much stone you can use. And he was like, no, it's really specific. I want this color. I want this. So yeah, we actually ended up spending more time. We changed the approach, and Dan went to the quarry to source it rather than I was just getting 20-ton loads delivered to the house. But yeah, the stone is what makes the house. It is so incredible. Like, it is an art form, and watching Dan working, he's not a man of many words, but he does such a magical job. Yeah, you have to come and see it in real life. I know some of you have. You can tell everyone it's nice. And Jack and I we were doing the roof. Yeah. And one half of the roof is better than the other. Okay, so architecture stuff. Right, this is these two together. I'm going to try and speed through this. Everything's speedy. So we've got the small window here, which is this little window here, and then going up through the parapet and then flat roof at the top. So you've got some things that we didn't know about originally. We had originally designed a much thicker wall, but Dan was saying each stone has a natural kind of bedding depth, so it's 215, not 230. Sorry, Dan. And we also weren't expecting to use this as SureCav, the thicker version, deeper version. And we weren't going to use this. We were just going to have a cavity, and Dan was just going to build and use like brick ties back into the wall. But the stone is so heavy that you can see like there's no mortar joints really. I mean, it's not a dry bed, but all the mortar was just squeezing out into the back, out into the cavity. So we had to change, and we had to get this SureCav, and that put everything back a couple of weeks, and it was an extra few thousand, but it allowed the project to happen. And we're going to get into this parapet section up here. So really quickly, what I've got is a cold roof. I was a bit nervous about it, but we checked with the ventilation as we were going through the build, so we were quite happy that it was working well. And then we've got plywood creating the back half of our concrete parapet, which has got rebar in it there. And this is the start of it. So this is the plywood former with our DPM and our rebar, our neighbour, Paddy, who doesn't live beside us anymore. And the whole concrete parapet was hand batched. Again, there's no, like I said, there's no pump. So we lifted it up on buckets onto the roof. This is Paddy, again, our neighbour. I checked it as he is in jail now. So, yeah. We called him Paddy the Baddie. That's so bad, isn't it? It's so bad. Okay, so fly. Top of the parapet, we've got the smoothing out, vibrating the parapet. Do as I say, not as I do. This is really bad. And also the conditions, like it was freezing. Like that is absolutely not what you pour concrete in, but we didn't have a choice. So it's a sort of decorative thing mostly, apart from the big lintels. So it's my own house. On top of the former, we did a retarder. So when we struck the formwork, then we just sprayed it back to expose the aggregate. The house is really three forms of the same stone. So you've got the whole stone, you've got the same stone exposed in the parapet, and then you've got the polished stone, which you'll see in a second. Oh, I have so much to talk about. Windows, this is so nice to see. So while all of this was happening, we're doing the stonework, we're getting the windows made by someone, a company that we've worked with for years. They're based in Edinburgh, but we really trust them. One of their guys is also, I think they have four in the practice, 4 in the company. One of them is from a neighbouring island, so he knows how extreme it is. Really, anything out there, you just have to be so sure about your details. And we were so desperate to get the glass in before Christmas, so that's us getting the glass in, and we did it. What a classic. Window and wash type before Christmas. We had some friends up. There was lots of sore heads during this visit. And this was December, December 30th. December is often overlooked. You have to come up. It's like all times of year, it is beautiful. So it's probably like 2:30 in the afternoon here, but it's still beautiful. Okay, so back to work. Window and wash type means insulation. So we were going to go with breathable. We tend to do breathable projects. Everything that we do on the mainland is breathable, but out here it's really difficult. Like cost of materials, if it's not already on the island or brought in through the suppliers, you're having to pay pallet loads to be brought over on the freight ferry, and it's just so expensive. So the sort of like compounded effect of the additional cost of breathable plus freight was just too much for us. So we went with rock wool. Don't kill me. It's horrible stuff. We had to do it ourselves, so I've got no one else to blame. Insulation going in everywhere. It's such a nice phase. It was freezing outside, but we were beginning to get like a sense of the house feeling like a home. It's amazing when you just like do these little moments and you're like, I could just live in this now. And screed going in. Okay, so we've got underfloor heating. We learned our lesson. We're using proper blocks here. None of this plastic stuff. And we poured it in 2 halves. So this is, again, do as I say, not as I do. I'm really bitters in the bum because, yeah, well, for many reasons, but we polished the floor, and polishing a floor that's not even isn't good. This is this sort of situation on site. This is my husband, Jack, and he loves to eat, so, yeah, many, many sandwiches. Joel, he came over from Skye. He polishes concrete for a living. He was so kind. He came and stayed with us for a week. He lent us his equipment for, like, 6 weeks, which is how long it took us to polish that floor. Oh, and he didn't tell us the extractor didn't work. So that was it most of the time during the 5 weeks. But we're getting there, looking all nice and sight. We've got the wood-burning stove in, feeling warm and toasty. And this was it. Oh, yeah, it feels good. I'm so glad that we did it. Other stuff, we've got cedar from Inverness, that's Scottish cedar, so it was felled by a sort of up-and-coming timber merchant called Logie Timber, but again, up and coming, we ordered it kiln dried. We were expecting it to be 9 to 13, but it was 50, so not great. So that means we turned the house into a kiln. So we thought, my brother's a cabinet maker by trade, and yeah, he really came into his own. So we were looking at this thinking, oh my gosh, we've got all this soaking wet timber, what do we do? And he was like, no, we chose cedar, it's really stable regardless of the moisture content. He graded it all, he stacked it all. Yeah, he was a godsend during this time. So we began as the timber was getting drier and drier. We were kind of watching it down, and like 21% we were pushing it. It's quite high to plane it, but I was doing the quotes, and I had an option to buy it kiln dried and planed, but I decided not to get it planed because I thought it would be cheaper to buy a planer and do it ourselves. But to plane like all that timber is so much. The outcome's really nice, but this is what it looked like on site. This is the tip of the iceberg. Like, it was unbelievable. I think we could have powered the whole island for like 3 months with that. And this was our mental breakdown phase. So this was Alistair. Fred again came to play in our community hall, and I didn't see Alistair for 3 days after it. So I literally went and picked him up off the beach and took him back home, and he just like lay in his Volvo for about another 2 days. And I brought him wine. This was Jack in the pub. This is one of our neighbours. They would just come and buy us beer as sort of moral support. And I also had a mental breakdown. I had like copious amounts of barbecue super noodles, and I bought a cat. This is Midge. And he comes everywhere with us. He loves living on Harris. And he comes up walking everywhere. If anyone wants like trashy cat videos and with like nice scenic stuff, come follow me on my personal Instagram, because that's what it is. Yeah, but back to it, we were like really in the grind now. We had like photographers booked in, and we just had to crack on. So we were working mega shifts. The daylight was really long, so that was good. Everything I did in this house could have been 10 times easier. Like, don't buy really thick, like uneven tiles. Really difficult to tile. I'd never tiled before, but again, it's my own house. This is Glasgow, and Alistair was choosing the timber for the kitchen and the doors. We got European beech. That's what it looks like. He was like, yeah, this looks sick. And I was like, yeah, okay, like that looks good. And again, just, more time, keeping it all straight, keeping it all flat as the house. Because the house was quite warm at this point because we were still drying the cedar at the back. So we had to be careful with the temperature differences. Oh, Alistair, what a godsend again. So this was him. And he's used to working in, like, cabinet makers are working, like, to really precise measurements. And poor Alistair we were like, well, here's some, like, shonky tools. And, yeah, that's your cutting table. Like, good luck. But he absolutely aced it. And these are some of the kitchen doors that he was making. This is like the evening before, maybe like 2 evenings before the photo shoot. Like, we were, not great. But we did it, and we had friends. This is Charlie and Elliot. I don't know if anyone knows them from, they were working in the Modern House. And they got sent up. I think we had a lot of tenants during that visit. And we had Mary Anna Foster visit with Colin Bailey from Bailey Architects. He runs a practice in Plockton, which is just off Skye. Amazing work. They're really, up and coming. And Mary runs a magazine called Alder. They're in three magazines, three copies of it, issues of it. And it is one of the best architectural magazines. So if anybody hasn't read it, go and just order the 3 copies, because it is amazing. And this was it. These are the photos that we took during that time. And I can't believe, we couldn't believe, we all couldn't believe how much it came together. But as with all things, it's look at that. Jack was in full mental breakdown. Like the hours before the Modern House guys were here, they were like coming in on the ferry. They were like, "Oh, guys, we're so ready! Can't wait to see the house." We're like, "Yeah." So Jack was literally driving around Harris trying to find flat stones to put in here. Oh my god. This is the kitchen. This is the bathroom when they were taking the photos. So yeah, don't always believe what you see. But that's the bathroom now. Yeah, that was good. And that's it. God, have I done that? I can't. It must be a long 15 minutes. That's us. Cool, thanks.